definitely tied to Superman and Lois. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World's Finest, a sub show of the Vigilante 1939 podcast. We are the World's Finest. And what do we do on the World's Finest? We review Superman and Lois, particularly season 2. And we are back. My name's Exenic, and joining me for World's Finest for all these episodes is the steel to my Superman. He is Chris Evans. Chris, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing super as always. How are you doing?
That, Chris, you are a gentleman and a scholar. You
I
impress
try.
me every time.
I try.
There you go. So Chris, obviously, episode 1, it was very, very great to be back.
hmm
We had our premiere of Superman and Lois. We broke it down. That's on the channel. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you watch our season or episode 1 breakdown of Superman and Lois season 2 before we get into here, because this is, of course, as all the episodes are, full spoilers. So if you haven't seen this week's episode of Superman and Lois, do yourself a favor and go watch it, and then come back and hear what we have to say. But Chris, like we do every episode, just run me through a few of your just general impressions of this week's episode of Superman and Lois.
So this episode was mixed for me. I liked it. It's not like, oh, that was a horrible episode, but it's mixed. There's some things I like, some things I didn't like, and there's a trend I think I'm seeing here that I hope does not continue for the rest of the season. But I know we'll get more into that. But overall, I think it did more good than bad. But it's still a mixed thing for me on this one.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. So I thought this was a good episode of Superman and Lois, but I wouldn't say that it was a great episode of
Yeah.
Superman and Lois. I would say it's more like just another episode of television. Like
hmm
if I had to throw it as a comparison, and you can take that for however you like, right? But obviously, I think they definitely do a few things that are interesting, both character wise and story wise, and then they kind of just go through the motions here. I think with everybody, like it's not like anything major really happened, but they're like laying the groundwork, right? Like Chris, like you always say, they're kind of just planting the seeds. I would say. I think that's what this episode does, which is weird because it's only the second episode, so you would think that they'd want to, get a few really strong episodes out the gate and then kind of maybe do some planting in the seeds for later on. But we'll definitely see how that goes. And obviously, we're picking up right from episode 1. I keep saying season 1. I don't know.
Season one
Episode
is
one.
just so good we can't think.
I know,
It's
right?
stuck in the head, stuck in the mind.
So this one's titled "The Ties That Bind."
hmm
We actually get a little bit of meaning of maybe why that might be. But Chris, let's start off with what's going on with our guy Clark here, our guy Superman. Because it appears he's having some trauma going on. He's having these weird spells going on. He's fainting during battle or rescues. Some stuff is going on here, and he's having some visions. We apparently find out, and he tries to rescue a group of people here, and then he becomes literally a liability. I guess according to the government. So, Chris, walk me through about what you thought of our answers involving what's going on with Soup here.
So, okay, this is a tough one because this is where the issues for me start as far as the mix thing going on with me. We don't really we don't get a solid answer of why he's getting these visions. And I understand it. It's episode 2. That's fine, but like nothing really helps us understand it other than the main point that we find out later. But there's just not enough about it because it's used in the final moments of the episode, and it's just like a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, we'll see you next episode. I don't know, will you? I mean, they will, but still. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll be there, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that rescue scene goes, I thought it was cool until the thug gets like high on Kryptonian gas, whatever that was. It was like a Bane kind of character,
Mm.
which
Mm.
that's exactly what I was saying. Like, wow, they're using like Bane's venom or something, and I mean
Yeah.
like the Gotham Bane, if you remember that.
I try not to, but I get it. It's
You didn't
just
like Shane West? What is that his name? Shane West?
I
I
think
think so.
so. Yeah, I mean, because I don't know. I mean, that was that like ex Kryptonite or something that he was
Yeah,
maybe inhaling. Okay, yeah,
that's what I understood.
that's what I assumed they were
I
going
think they
with.
said something like that. Um, but I didn't mind the rescue scene. It's just I
Hmm.
thought the I don't know, the weird Kryptonite Bane was interesting, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
as always, I love seeing Superman get the crap kicked out of him. Makes him
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable, makes him real. I'm into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying, it's just the vision thing is kind of bugging me.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too, because obviously, it definitely, like you said, it makes Superman more vulnerable. It kind of adds more context to, uh, his, usage, I guess. And it's,
Mhm.
whether or not Superman is gonna be Superman or whether he's gonna falter, he's gonna fail. Like we don't know what's going on with him. He wants help, but then he doesn't want to go help.
Mhm.
Ask help, or I should say, ask for help to the person that might be able to help him, which we find out he eventually ends up doing later in the episode. So it's a weird thing, for sure, like you said, because they don't really quite explain why he's kind of having these weird visions, and they're very ambiguous. And then later in the episode, we kind of find out that they're all tied to what's going on in the mines, which we're going to talk about at the very very end here. But because before we kind of move on to some other stuff in the episode here, I think it's definitely important to notice here that we get some returning characters.
Mhm.
So obviously we have some of the teenagers are particularly tagged, notably from season one that Superman, I guess, helped rescue, helped stop,
Kind of
slash
like
save,
talked him off a roof, if I
talked him
remember
off of the
correctly.
roof.
Not literally, but
Yeah, no, not literally, but yeah. And he's a part of this little super team that the government has planning here. So obviously he's got the crest that Superman wears, which is very notable of Superman. So Chris, what do you think of this idea of, the people that Superman might have saved are now part of this super team with the government?
oddly enough, I don't remember what I felt about this last week, but this week I'm more into the idea of the kid heroes, or I don't know if I want to call them kid heroes, but like let's say the B Squad,
Mm-hmm.
the Super B Squad. I'm kind of into them here, and I really like that they brought Tag back specifically because it shows that they had more in mind last season. Like it wasn't just a one and done kind of thing in their heads. They thought, okay, we're going the distance with this Superman and Lois series. So I like them bringing Tag back, and I liked his interaction because once you see him, it registers. Oh, wait a minute, Superman helped him last season. He just helped Superman, and he's the one who stopped to ask, "Are you okay?" The other guys were just going at it with the Metropolis Bane, whatever.
I like it so much.
He didn't have a name, so that's what
I
we're gonna
know.
call.
Yeah.
But that
I don't
I
know.
like seeing Tag in the Super B Squad.
It's called me electrician, or I don't know.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I like, I'm a sucker for redemption. So I always like seeing when characters come back and there's like a different element to them. So, maybe instead of you know throwing them away, they feel like they're neutralized by the government a little bit. So maybe we don't know if they're forced under their will or if they're doing this voluntarily. We don't know quite yet, but obviously they're a part of this super team that the government plans on using to replace Superman. Obviously, and I think Chris, we're probably definitely in the same boat that they're definitely going to have a larger role here
Yeah.
later in the season, especially when spoiler Doomsday really makes his impact here on
Mhm.
Smallville, assuming that they're going where we think we're going. But that to me definitely seems to be where they're going. So I definitely would probably expect there's going to be a few more teenagers here that maybe
Oh, you
Superman
do?
recognizes, or maybe the kids might recognize. Uh,
You think
but
there's gonna be more than three?
I think there's like an army that's
Ooh,
coming.
okay.
Yeah. If it is, that's cool though. I mean, I'm not saying we need like 10 super teen soldiers or whatever,
I
but
mean,
I
like an
mean,
X Men size group.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I was thinking there's only the three of them.
yeah. I mean, there could be more. Like I said, I mean, maybe there is, maybe there's not.
That'd
But
be interesting though if there's more.
hmm so just because they really seem to be leaning into like Superman's probably going to be out, for a few episodes and maybe an episode or two, and somebody's got to fill the gap. So someone's got to fill the role here.
Mm,
So
I think we know, but
yeah, I think we know too.
mm, we'll see.
So yeah, we'll definitely see on that one. But Chris, let's dive in a little bit of some teen drama here, I should say.
Mm,
Because part of the drama and part of some controversy last week is what's going on with the Cushings here. And particularly Sarah Cushing. So obviously, she comes back from camp, which, man, when you come back from camp, Sometimes you're a different person. Just saying, just saying.
especially if it's band camp.
Especially if it's band camp. This time at band camp, Chris.
No, no.
So yeah, so Sarah comes back from camp here, and we get the infer here that her and Jordan are kind of having some issues, but only to her, perspective, right? Like Jordan just thinks like everything's fine. We're gonna pick up right where they left off. But something's going on with Sarah here, and we didn't quite know in episode one because they left it very open ended. But audience knowledge here might be able to infer what that might have been, and lo and behold, we find out that she kissed a girl. So we're not going to speculate, on anything further. We have an idea of what that might mean. But Chris, what do you think of this subplot that they got going on with Sarah here?
I'm just kind of interested to see where they take it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't think that last season they spent enough time developing Sarah and Jordan's relationship. I know it was there and I didn't have a problem with it, and I still don't, but I just don't think there was enough substance there for us to really care
Mm-hmm.
like deeply about it. That's just me though. So for them to kind of break apart here, it's not hurting me. Um, but I'm interested to see where they go with it because it's not something I expected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's cool, especially like for representation purposes. If that is where they're going, I think it's cool for her arc. I think it could be really really cool, for the show's representation. I'm kind of with you though. I know for people that didn't really like the relationship anyway, it probably doesn't hurt them one way
Hmm.
or the other. But for me, as somebody that like they just started the relationship
Right.
and then they kind of threw this wrench in there. Uh, it's odd, but it could be cool, and especially now that we found out that they're only like 15 or 16, kind of
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that world. Teenagers. There's a lot of discovery that goes on.
A
Kind
lot
of
of
during that
emotions.
age too. So I'm not surprised that maybe that's an arc that it certainly is believable. So I'll give them all that credit on that one.
Yeah, and I think maybe Natalie will play a role in this too, which is a cool in for that character.
Mm-hmm.
To be the maybe the new best friend or whatever. I think that's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that they are starting something with Sarah and Natalie. We don't know where it's going to go, of course, but I like that they are forming some type of alliance at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was I really like that dynamic too. That was really
Yeah, it was
cool.
cool. I just
Um,
hope it doesn't set up Jordan's villain story that we all know is coming.
it's done, Chris. It's done.
Uncle Morgan, teach me how to hurt people.
The second we see Jordan looking at a ring, Chris, it's over. It's over. It's over.
I don't know. We'll see.
No gold rings for Jordan here.
Mm, he doesn't have a
That,
Sam yet.
that's
I
all.
guess Jonathan is his Sam. Jonathan is the Sam to Jordan's Frodo. So
Yes, there you go. There you go. So Chris, let's stay on the topic of the Cushings here, because we're 2 episodes in already, and much like the back half of season one, they're really getting a lot of focus here.
mm,
Lana appears to be running for mayor of Smallville here, and Kyle, really 180 the character, is supportive, loving dad. Chris, he's really
yep.
he's really kicking it in here. But Chris, you brought up an interesting point here. So, are the Cushings entertaining, or are we just distracting from the larger narrative here? What do you think? Is it filler or killer? What do you think?
Ooh, I like that. Filler or killer. That should be a segment on some kind of show. I don't know what show, but some kind of show. Maybe this one. They are filler, though. For me, they are filler. I think that they just, I don't care about their story. I like
Mhm.
Kyle and all. I like Lana. I don't care about her running for mayor. It just doesn't really interest me. It's kind of like the Smallville storyline, the Smallville Gazette storyline right now. I
Mhm.
also am not really bought into that for some reason. But the Cushing specifically, the thing with them is, I think they're just distracting from the larger Superman narrative at hand here. Because there's enough going on in the Kent household. We don't really need to see what's going on in the Cushing household. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. And again, it's not because I dislike these characters. I just don't think we need so much of them. And I realize they don't take up half the episode, but they do take up substantial parts of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm actually with you too in that it's they're really heavily focusing on them, and I think it's more apparent because it's just them.
Hmm.
We're in the town of Smallville, but we really only know of the Kents and the Cushings. So I think
Right.
it's very obvious that those are the two that you're focusing on. So I think maybe if you do like another family or two in the
Hmm.
mix too, maybe kind of spread out the wealth a little bit. I think maybe it's not so jarring a little bit. Like maybe instead of you just wondering when we're going to see Superman again, maybe you get another cast of characters that you care about, right? Instead of just now we go back to the Cushings. I wanted more Superman scenes. So
Or just more
uh,
Clark and his
yeah,
family. Because
right.
I really like the family dynamic they have. I'm cool with more of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously, like you said too. I mean, it's cool that they're giving characters like that
Hmm.
something to do. Like I like the idea of Lana running for mayor of Smallville because I think she was clearly established to be the heart of Smallville while Clark was gone. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I think I'm just with you too. I think maybe you got to throw another family in the mix or something. Kind of spread it out a little bit so it's not so eye apparent there.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, and maybe I'm completely off base with this, we don't know how long this season is, but for whatever reason, I feel like it's not going to be. I know we're not getting like a 23 episode season. I'm pretty sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
So hypothetically, let's say it's a 12 episode season, like they originally intended on the first one. Well, if that's the episode count, I feel like our time, we're not going to get a lot of time with certain aspects of it. So why are we putting it toward this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
another
that
way I look at it.
that's very fair. So obviously,
And,
yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
and again, I don't hate the Cushings, and I'm excited to see ribs again from Kyle. But that's my 2 cents.
Chris, 2 episodes in and no ribs still. No ribs. What's up with
What
that?
the
What's up with
hell?
that?
And plenty of Kyle.
Come on, man. Put up that grill. It's
Come
not
on,
that
Mr.
cold out.
Valdez. Let's do it.
Not that cold outside. At least over there it don't look like.
No, it looks like it never gets any kind of weather over there.
Yeah, jeez, come on. At least what with some burgers or something. I don't know, man. I was Kyle's Grill or something.
That could be his subplot. Give him like a restaurant, like a food truck. Let's do that. Like
That
he could be grilling outside the Lana's press conferences and campaign events.
Kyle's BBQ,
Actually, that's
dude.
probably coming.
It probably is. Probably
Come
is.
to the house. Kyle's grilling.
A vote for Lana is a vote for ribs.
Oh, there we go. I need that on a t-shirt.
Oh my goodness. All right, here, Chris. So let's go into the larger narrative here, and that is Superman needs answers. He needs help. So who does he go to? The return, Uncle Morgan, Chris.
Mm.
Uncle Morgan in a nice red solar flare room here, which means he's depowered, no powers. Uncle Morgan, tell well, convinces Superman to let him out of the jail cell or whatever he's in. And we all know what happens when you let the villain out of the jail cell, Chris. We all know what happens. Just saying, we all know what happens.
I don't know if it's ever ended well when they've tried this on anything. In any movie or TV show or even any animated series. Has it ever ended well when the hero releases the villain from his cell to do something? I don't think it ever has.
No, no. So Superman, and actually, because I want to point out, I don't know if you felt the same way, but I really dug the lighting
Mhm.
of the shot or like the visuals in there, like with Superman, like in that red lighting, when he's talking to Tellrow and Nancy. I thought that was a pretty cool shot. Just the way that his suit kind of blended with the lighting.
It was actually distractingly cool. I was like, hey, his suit
Right?
looks awesome.
Yeah. So obviously, Superman busts Morgan out here. Morgan takes him over to his fortress to
Yeah.
try to get some help here for Superman, and we get a reunion with the real Laura, I should say. So not the one that Lana, I guess, had her some conscious in.
Yeah.
That was kind of really that they made to throw that in there. That nice little tense reunion here. So while Lara tries to figure out what's going on with Superman here, Tell has some dirty tricks in the book here, Chris, and tries to escape. Has a nice little battle with Jordan here. So what can we do about what you thought of the idea of Tell and Superman, and maybe talk about what that means going forward? Because I don't think this is the last
No.
we're going to see of him for sure.
Oh no, we're on our way to Redemption City here.
Uh,
We are firmly on the road.
yep.
Especially with that last line Superman gives him. That's where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Uncle Morgan last season, Tal Rowe. I thought he was cool. He is still the dollar store version of Christoph Waltz, which is fine. I I thought him in the cell was really neat. I like the, like I said, I like the visuals of it. I think it's cool that his cell is basically a library for him, and it's also set up the way like Harley Quinn's was in Suicide Squad. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of interesting, with like the gate around it and then the cell in the middle. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of cool. It's like he has his own solar flare apartment. Uh, I thought his trickery, his little gag, you can see it from a mile away because again, it just never goes well when you do this in anything. So we all knew at some point he's gonna break his little chain or whatever the hell he had. Like why would you like a kryptonite kind of handcuff thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have made more sense, but he just like standard some kind of metal shit or metal stuff. Sorry. um, and then the fight ensues with him and Jordan, which that was cool because I didn't know Jordan was powerful enough to actually handle himself for a second
Mm-hmm.
there. Because that was really cool. I like seeing that. But then like his face, like he grabbed him by the throat and Jordan's face was all red, like he was dying. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was different. But it was a cool appearance by him. I just what it's setting up is not. I don't think it's what I want to see. But as always, I'm going to give it a chance and see if I like the execution. But
Mm-hmm.
it's very clear where this is going. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So obviously you needed some kind of foil for Superman in this episode, and that's clearly
Mm,
what that was. It was the whole villain wants you to think that he's might be turning a new leaf over, but then he kind of digs up his old tricks in the book here. It was very Lex Luthor, if I had to
very.
probably describe it, which probably is where they're going. But although the ending scene might say something otherwise, so we might be getting the real deal here. Chris, we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But it was definitely an intense scene. When
Mm.
all three of them are interacting, or all four of them, I should say. When
Yeah,
when Lara
Laura.
when Lara is trying to bring Superman and Tal together, and then she kind of really finds out that it was Tal that essentially messed everything up. So, and then I really really like the fight scene, especially because then when Superman realizes that Tal World broke out and he's going ham on his son, and then Superman immediately
Mm,
powers over and just starts grounding and pounding him. I thought that was a great scene. I thought that was a great
that
scene.
was. Like
Um,
Talro really didn't fight back against him.
no,
He just let it
no,
happen. Like, okay, I did it. I'm bad.
hmm yeah, which is the weird thing too, because then it kind of played in with the idea that Lara thinks that he can still be a good person,
Mhm.
and then you get the impression that maybe he is trying to be good, but Superman doesn't see it, right? So, anti-hero probably more likely. I don't know, but
The
Chris,
seeds.
it's definitely going to be likely that at some point I think they're teaming up. Wouldn't you say by the end of the
Super
season?
Kryptonian bros coming at you. Um, but also, the interaction between Laura, you mentioned it, was actually really important, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I liked all of her lines in the back and forth between her and Talro, and also a little bit we see with Clark
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree here.
and Jordan. Hi, Grandma.
Yeah, hi, Grandma. I never met you before. Hi, Grandma.
Yeah, hi, Grandma. I'm here with Uncle
uh,
Morgan and Dad.
yeah. So, Chris, one more thing here before we kind of move on to the ending here is dude, we got another dynamic that's playing out. I would assume throughout the season here, and that's Lois and John Henry Irons,
Mm.
spending some quality time together. John Henry Irons just trying to become everybody's favorite person. Just proving that he's just a good guy. Just trying to help out, be there for the cons. But Chris, do you find this dynamic awkward? Do you think it's gonna be awkward? Do you think like they're gonna try to throw some he's spending so much time with the lady that looks like his wife, but it's not his wife. Uh, how do you see this playing out, or is this not a factor at all?
No, I think it's awkward. I think that it's supposed to be uncomfortable. I think that's their intention, and I think they're going to keep playing at that because it just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because it's not like she's a different person. It is the same Lois that he knew, just on a different Earth. Had he been on this Earth and they'd met the same, they would have had the same relationship, but they didn't. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the interesting thing about it. Like I was talking about Natalie and in her last week, and it's still the same thing here. In other circumstances, their relationship would have played out exactly the same way.
Yep.
So it's hard to ignore that, especially with them, you know, basically being the Hardy Boys or whatever you want to call it here. They're like some kind of team here, and I think it's an interesting thing to play with, but it is kind of awkward.
Hmm.
And on that, I'd rather they take the time from the Cushings and give it to John Henry Irons and Natalie.
Hmm. Yeah, that's like my fear going into the season is that it's almost like it's right there in front of them for not to play with, so of course they're gonna do it. But
Mhm.
it is kind of awkward for me, and the last thing that I would want them to do is to mess around and say, Lois is starting to develop these feelings for John Henry Irons or vice versa. I don't think that's what they're going,
No,
but
I don't think
it
so.
just like you said, like it's not like it's a bad thing. It just it makes you feel like weird, like it's like an uncomfortable feeling.
Mhm.
Like, like, oh, you should be with Clark right now, right? And you should be with your daughter right now, kind of
Or
like those
or
kind of
dial it
things.
back a little bit, John.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
get it, but you might need to dial it back because you're getting kind of creepy,
Hmm. So
or you're going to be
obviously,
creepy.
yeah. So I mean, and obviously, we'll see too. Like, he's clearly established that he is just a good guy, or he
Mhm.
wants to just be a good guy. He's helping them out to see what's going on in the mines here, and let's segue right into that, Chris, because lo and behold, we anticipated last week that there's only a few different characters that can make a lasting punch of an impact like that.
Mhm.
It looks like it's pretty much Doomsday, a foregone conclusion at this point. We don't see him full on just yet. They do the whole classic shadow villain thing, as he kind of goes ham on all these different like mine workers,
Which was
co-workers. I don't know what you
beautiful.
want to call them. So very reminiscent of like Death of Superman, Doomsday's first introduction. So Chris, further proof, further indication that Doomsday is coming here. Oh, what do you think?
Well, the showrunner was really vocal about it, so we knew it was coming. But I think the way they're doing it is pretty cool. I like it. I like seeing him go ham on those workers because it makes him more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other versions of Doomsday that we've seen, in BBS and the animated stuff, and I think even Smallville, he really didn't bug anybody except Clark.
Yep.
So to see him just be a naturally evil character is nice. I want to say it's refreshing, but that might sound weird. But it
Mm-hmm.
is. It is refreshing to see him just murder innocent people.
Yeah, no, it was definitely terrifying for sure. And I think what was even more striking is that it appears that the whole thing was set up, or we're led to believe it was, because
Yeah.
now we get to reveal that somebody appears to have a very high interest in what's going on here, or what was going to happen. There's this lady that makes a phone call to a certain individual who was unnamed at the end of the episode, but Chris, I don't know, it feels an awful lot like we might be getting the real deal, and what I mean by that, I wonder if there's a Lex Luthor that's coming this season. What do you think?
I think we have to see Lex at this point. I don't know who else she would be calling. It could be the. I think it could be Anderson.
Oh.
It could be Anderson, um, just because hey, here's another uh, Kryptonian something that you
Mm-hmm.
could add to your team. Of
Hmm.
Kryptonian soldiers or children, whatever you want to call it.
I didn't think of that.
It
Mm-hmm.
could be that. I think as fans, we want to believe it's Lex. Like
Yeah.
I want to see Lex. I think
Mm-hmm.
most fans do at this point. And also, we've had that question since season one: is John Cryer Tyler Hoechlin Superman's Lex? That was a long
Mm-hmm.
sentence, but is he this Superman's Lex? Because we didn't see him cross over with anybody since Superman Lois started. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
Diggle, but that didn't guarantee that it's the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Lex. I hope it's Lex, but if it's not, I mean that's cool too. It could be Anderson. That might be interesting. We just don't know.
Mm-hmm. I actually, so obviously, like I would like to see a Lex Luthor, in this
Mhm.
show. As it is a Superman show. I would like to see some of the classic villains in here. I actually think the idea of it might being Anderson is a little more interesting to me. Where it's this idea of this man in power, in the government, kind of, maybe facilitates this whole situation to his advantage. Like maybe the idea was to discover Doomsday, have these super soldiers kind of stop Doomsday, make it look like they don't need Superman anymore, and then maybe the plan goes wrong, right? Like maybe Doomsday is just so out of control that he kills all these people, which is probably going to happen, and then Superman
Unfortunately.
steps in. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's the route they're going. That it's all like a facade, that goes wrong. So I wonder if that's where they're going, or if it really is the mastermind himself, Lex Luthor. So,
They
um,
might even just want the DNA from Doomsday. That could be a
yeah,
thing too.
hmm yeah. So
And any way to get Talro to take over Superman for a while. That's probably what's going to be.
yeah, all for sure. I mean, you definitely got to expect there's probably going to be a few twists and turns here. I mean,
I just want
who
more
knows?
Steel.
Yeah, maybe
If that
Superman ends up in
happens,
that jail cell. I don't know.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I hope we get
So
more Steel though, if that's what happens.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean,
Steel is
he
awesome.
he's retired right now, but we all know that he's getting that ass on that suit by the
I
end of the
hope
season.
so. It'll look so cool if he does. And I really like that actor. He's doing a really good job.
Yeah, he is. He's great. hmm So yeah. So Chris, obviously, believe it or not, that kind of was the episode.
Hmm.
Not too much this week. Episode 3 appears to have a little more going on with it, but we'll obviously see. So before we get on out of here, though, Chris, close us out here. Plug away and any last thoughts on the episode.
There's one more thought I have that I just thought of.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but the Smallville Gazette thing is a little weird to me because it's
hmm
just a Smallville newspaper and they're
Yeah.
making it hyper serious. And I'm just
hmm
kind of not connecting with that. And I do love seeing Lois do stuff, but I'm just not getting that. I don't know about you.
I think it's because it feels so small right now.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. So
That's all I had.
yeah, I think they're trying to rebuild like a smaller version of the Daily Planet, maybe, but it's just because it,
Ooh,
it
okay,
feels like so building from the ground up right now that I think maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
that works. That was just
Mhm.
the last thing I thought of.
Yeah. No, good point. So yeah, so obviously, Chris, thank you for joining me as always. And before we get on out of here, sir, please plug everything you got going on.
Sure. You guys can find me on Twitter at that Chris70, but I prefer you check out the Twitter account of the new podcast live YouTube show I do with my buddy Emmett Davis called Gathering of the Geeks. You can follow us on Twitter at G of the Geeks.
Wonderful. Please do that. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. It's great content every Sunday. Your Sundays just got a whole lot better. I
We
promise
gather
you.
on Sundays.
There you go. We gather on Sundays. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zenick. You guys can follow this show at Vigilante1999 on Twitter. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. When this video is done, consider maybe leaving a like and a comment on the video because the more likes and comments that are on the video, the more the YouTube follows the algorithm. So obviously, we want people to see this video. So please like, share, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Please rate and review the show Vigilante 1999 on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Consider leaving a rating and review for that as well, because that really helps the show in the long run as well. So we're going to be back for episode 3 of Superman and Lois next week. We look forward to seeing what you guys all have to say. As always, you can let us know what you think in the comments below. If you do, we'll read it on there because we appreciate everybody that tunes in and wants to know what we have to say and want to hear what you have to say. So obviously, that's going to about do it for this week's episode. So for Chris Evans, my name's Nick Zenick. As Michael Keaton's Batman always says, I want you to tell your friends about me.